I'm back.
Welcome on in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I am your host, Damon Fairall, and we are live from Studio K, presented by our friends over at Circle K. I'm here with my guy, Kevin M. Effin Thomas, baby. Kevin, how are we doing, brother?
It feels weird to be here. I'm back.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm somehow back. I made it back from California. And it feels good to be here, even though it is way too hot in Arizona to even exist. I forgot. I was gone for not even a week, and I forgot how unbearably hot it gets here in Arizona. But I'm thankful to be back. I'm happy to be back with you in the chat, talking a lot of Arizona Wildcats news while I was gone and departed. And I'm back now, so ready to yap it up.
Yeah, I mean, I remember last summer I went to California a couple times, and like in the dead heat of the summer, like August, July area, neck of the woods, and man, like you are not kidding, Kevin. Like it is genuinely, like you head out there and you're just like, this is what it feels like on my skin. Like what is going on? And that's why, I mean, everyone, always complains about California all the time, but there's a reason people want to live there, and it's because the weather is nice almost 100% of the time.
It was incredible. Even when it was like chilly, cold out at night, you're still like, well, this is kind of perfection.
You just put on a hoodie and you're like,
this is still kind of perfection.
Freaking great outside, man.
Exactly.
But you had a good time on your trip, though.
I did. Spent a lot of time with my girlfriend's family. They're a very fun bunch, so that's always good. I'm thankful that like they're not in-laws, but like my partner's family doesn't really, I'm not looking at it like, oh no, I gotta go hang out with them. It's more like, all right, we're about to go party it up with her dad. It's gonna be a good time. So we're going to Atlanta next week, so that's what's happening there. And then I'm back pretty much in perpetuity. You know what I mean?
Forever, because
I'm on a WNBA exception.
That's the last time you're allowed to leave. But yeah, Kevin, Mr. Vacations, as we like to call him around here. Good to have you back, my man. And good to have you back to talk a little bit of Arizona athletics. I guess, we're going to get into Koa Peat discussion, and we're going to talk a little bit of Arizona baseball as well here. A couple football recruits on the agenda as well. But, I'm glad that you made it back from California, brother. And, it's good to have you back. That's for sure.
Thanks for holding it down, brother. You held it down incredibly well. The people at home were not starving for content. Mason White, huh? Devin Nets, huh?
Friends of the program.
You know what I mean? So shout out to Damon Dog for just absolutely holding down the fort, giving y'all the content y'all thirst for, y'all need in your life. So yeah, I knew I was taking a little bit of a break here this month, a couple times, but I knew the content wasn't going to sleep. But even though I was sleeping, because Damon's here and he doesn't let content slip, because that's just not how Damon is built. He's not cut from that same cloth as some other slackers. You know what I mean?
We have some other slackers that'll go unnamed. Totri and Eric Ruby, the PHX Sun Devil show. No, I'm sorry. They work hard. I just wanted to take some shots for no reason.
It's Spirit Week, Damon.
It is Spirit Week, and let's talk about that for a second, Kevin. So we are doing this thing around here for PHNX Sports called Spirit Week, and it's super fun thing that we're doing to kind of promote our friends at Big Brothers Big Sisters. So if you're not familiar, Big Brothers Big Sisters, obviously a big time charity. We've partnered with them over at All City, and we're going to be doing some fun stuff. There's a link, I believe, in our description, Kevin, at the bottom of our description, that gives people the opportunity to donate some money. I don't know if we're doing that quite yet on this Monday, but we're gonna be doing some fundraising for our friends over at Big Brothers Big Sisters. Obviously, great charity to make a big difference in the lives of young children, and we're really excited to be partnering with them. Really excited to be doing this whole Spirit Week thing, right? So today's Spirit Week, you can see me and Kevin wearing our favorite PHNX merch here. So Kevin's got his deactivated fan shirt. Perfect if you're a big hockey fan that misses hockey in the Valley here. hates the Utah Wasatch like I do. And by the way, do you want to get in on that with me, Kevin? I've determined I will only call them the Wasatch for until the end of time, because that was one of the names on the short list of team names that they were going to go with. And I just think it's, one of the worst things I've ever heard. The Wasatch Mountains are like a mountain range in that area. But just the thought of that even being an option is so comical to me that for until the end of time, you will be the Wasatch in my eyes. But
shout out to Sean DePaz. I feel like I saw him posit that on Twitter.
Sean DePaz is low key a Utah guy.
Ew.
Like he's that's one of those things where it's like it really felt like that was the true Sean DePaz is no longer at PHNX and doesn't associate himself with us anymore, because he went to the Utah Hockey Club game and he was out there and he was like this is electric, Utah hockey on top, and you're like, brother, you were the producer of the Coyotes show. We hate he's one of the biggest haters I've ever met. We hate these people more than anything. They took everything we had.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyways, go get yourself a deactivated fan shirt. It's beautiful. Deactivated franchise, obviously, and then they will reactivate. And maybe we'll have a reactivated fan shirt at some point.
That could be kind of, that's kind of fire.
I got my Sunday Fun Day shirt on, kind of light blue representing, I know it's teal, but it's light blue kind of representing Sunday Fun Day Father's Day, even though the Diamondbacks lost yesterday. But go check out our merch on the locker. We got a 30% off flash sale. And that's part of the reason we're wearing these shirts. So go check it out and on the website. And it's just a great time to get yourself some fun shirts. Any Arizona sports team that you love, as well as, the Arizona Wildcats stuff that we have. So, we have the loyalty shirt representing Noah Fafita, T-Mac, and their loyalty to this university coming back. We got the BTFD shirt, which is with that beautiful cactus logo in the background. And who doesn't love a little BTFD, Kevin? So
everybody,
go check those out. allcitynetwork.com. You can find it. You can also find it on gophnx.com/locker. But appreciate everybody for being here. Drop a like on this video if you are here already. Tomorrow we're doing a fun thing where we're going to be bringing in a mystery guest.
Correct.
And by mystery guest, I mean mystery to you guys, mystery to me and Kevin. Our guy Saul Bookman is helping out figure out how to facilitate that. And we will be, in fact, bringing on someone tomorrow that we do not know who we will be talking to, and it should be an interesting time to say the least. Kevin and I were talking a little bit off air, like what if it's just like Andre Iguodala, and you're just like,
yeah, imagine just Saul.
What's up, Andre Iguodala? like just no preparation, just like massive guest, one of the biggest guests in show history, and then just like shocking stuff like, hey, Damon Stoudemire, you know that we have the same name? Isn't that pretty cool?
See, like, to me more so, I'm more concerned, like, if Saul does pull that on us, which thank you, Saul, if you're able to pull that off. Why was that in the back pocket this whole time? The season's been over for a while now, and you and I have been like, who should we get on the show? Who should we try to get on the show? And if Saul had Kerr or Iguodala in the back pocket, and he's just like, they'll figure it out. I don't know how I feel about that, but very excited for tomorrow. Mystery special guest, ooh, not quite spooky, but very exciting. Hopefully Saul got someone. I know Saul's got someone that you guys at home will recognize and love. I just hope that Damon and I aren't too caught off guard and are able to properly handle the situation. You know what I mean? You don't want to be thrown for too far of a loop. But like when we were told that we were going to do a mystery guest, Leah, our head of content, was like, it can either be a mystery to the fans or like a double mystery where you guys don't know and the fans don't know. Mm-hmm. And so I went on vacation and I'm like, well, I'm going to come back and I'm either going to know who this mystery guest is or I'm still going to be in the dark. I come back and I'm in the dark, Damon. So you and I are going to find out tomorrow with everyone else at home who the mystery guest is. And it's probably going to be someone incredible. And we're probably going to be like, how did we not get this person on the show earlier? Mm-hmm. I could not be more excited. Spirit Week, I'm hype. I had to be here for Spirit Week, Damon. Hey, boom.
I did figure out where you can donate. It's going to be, if you're watching on YouTube, it is going to be right below this YouTube. Do not send in super chats. There is a donation link that you can help out with. And at All City, we are attempting to raise $10,000, but that we feel that is a very, very reachable goal and that we could absolutely smash that out of the park. So if you can spare anything, please do just drop in, a quick $5, $10, anything helps. And helping us reach our goal. And we're really excited for this partnership and for this Spirit Week in general. So shout out to anybody that is able to make that help happen. So
we also, real quick before we move on from Spirit Week, we also have like I believe, let me look at this here. Yeah, we have mystery chairs or musical chairs on Wednesday. So that I think that constitutes as like you and I switching.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, so me and Damon are gonna be switching roles on Wednesday. That's some good therapy.
Well, actually, you know what I think it is. I mean, even though I was sitting in your seat all week last week.
Yeah. You and I do that quite often, actually.
Yeah. But I think that actually the musical chairs is a little bit more of like bringing on a PHNX personality that is not akin to being on our show. I know. I mean, I kind of did that last Friday when I brought on Derek Montilla to do our DVAC or our Arizona Wildcats baseball postgame show in the College World Series. But I think that the thought process is bringing in like a Bo Brock, the big guns, on a Wednesday to come sit down and talk some Arizona Wildcats. I was wondering this, Kevin. Do you think people would enjoy if we brought on either one of the Sun Devils guys and made it like a kind of a crap talking sesh? Or do you think that people at home would absolutely hate that? Because I think Ruby gets away with it a little bit more, despite his horrifically cringe, awful, disgusting rap video that he made prior to the Territorial Cup that really should make him public enemy number one, in my opinion, of the Arizona fan base, because it was such a despicable, gross, disgusting song. That being said, Totri is really the guy that is public enemy number one for these people. So I'm wondering if we just like brought Anthony Totri on just to argue, talk some crap, just kind of have some fun with it, would people just be like, oh, I'm logging off, I'm not listening to this guy?
I think it had to be done the right way. I think if you just like told people that it was happening, I don't think they'd be very happy with us. But I think if like you posted a show clip of like you just absolutely just giving it to Anthony Totri, like Sam Levitt is a fraud and blah blah blah, I think people would enjoy that. So if you really got on them about some stuff that deserves to be criticized, I think that it would truly
Koa Peat, huh?
Yeah. So whatever happened to that? Oh wow, okay. And kind of just go maybe the Bobby Hurley thing of it all. I think people would enjoy that. Maybe like a brief 5-10 minute segment, but I don't know if like a whole musical chairs with the rival pod is what the people want. Maybe it is what the people want. Let us know if you want that.
That's what makes it a little bit tougher, I think, in this office in particular, because there's only a limited amount of Arizona people. Like it's me, it's you, it's Leah.
We're trying to fight the good fight.
And it's kind of Espo. It's not like he doesn't even fully count. The guy like wears like a Kenny Dillingham jersey on his chest. So it's like, you know what I mean? So it's like
and Leah's
pretty much any single person we bring on is going to have ties to ASU, you know what we should do? We should get Noah Wolbrecht in front of a camera and just sit him down right next to us and just see what goes on. I mean, we might have to take that episode off the air. But.
Yeah, I was about to say, Noah in front of a camera might get us taken off air.
Yeah.
But like, it'd be the most entertaining way possible. It wouldn't be like in a bad way, but he definitely would get us taken off air for some of the things and noises he would make, for sure.
Well, Kevin, without further ado, we are 13 minutes into the show. And
we should probably start the show.
It's time to talk about a little bit of Arizona basketball. Real quick, before we get into the Koa Peat side of things, I wanted to ask you, because you were gone, Carter Bryant invited to the NBA Draft Combine. We did a lot on it last week, and he was one of the first 13 players that got invited to be in the, not Combine, sorry, to be in the green room for the NBA Draft. So meaning he's going to be at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn on draft night. Do you think that this is a sign of things to come for Carter Bryant, where it's like he's pretty much been told that he's a lottery pick? I mean, I know that 14 is right at the end of that lottery, so it's possible it's a couple picks after that, but I think his floor is like top 20, right? Like he seems pretty solidly in that first round at this point, and it's making more and more sense as to why he isn't coming back for an extra season, because you look at the names that he's being associated with in this invite list, like it's all the top dogs. It's the Rutgers guys. It's Cooper Flagg. It's Con Knipple. It's Malawak. It's all the boys, right? So do you think that this is a sign of Carter Bryant being like a top 14 pick?
I think it is. And I think beyond just like getting into the weeds of like where he's going to get selected, Damon, I think what is most important about this is it shows that Carter Bryant is exactly who we all thought he was as not only a prospect, but as a person. And I'm not trying to get all like preachy and corny, but I think like what did all Arizona fans say all of last season about Carter Bryant? Very special talent, but what makes him a special player is who he is as a person and his mentality towards the game. And we knew that once he got into that NBA draft combine process, there was a very high % chance that the scouts were going to fall in love, just like all Arizona fans did this past season watching Carter Bryant. And they were not going to let him go back to college. They were going to make sure he gets taken in that first 15 picks, likely. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think this is an evolution of his game. I think it showed that despite the lack of runway at Arizona, which I don't know if everyone at home saw, but Tommy Lloyd had a press conference, the last press conference before he went out to Colorado Springs very nice of him, sat down for like 40 minutes to talk to people. But part of that was him addressing like, look, like Carter Bryant, he said this about Caleb Love, but I think it also applies to Carter Bryant. We all know the kind of player, like if you are watching basketball to evaluate the player, you know who's a pro and you know who's not a pro pretty simply after a while of doing it, right? Caleb Love, that's a pro basketball player. Whether you want to get into the weeds of like whether he makes it into the second round, goes undrafted free agent, whatever, that's a pro basketball player. When you look at Carter Bryant, I think a lot of people got caught up in and us included. I'm not trying to like, forget and erase the starter Bryant movement, but I think a lot of people looked at what Tommy Lloyd was doing and said like, how could you not have Carter Bryant in there? There's no reason why Trey Townsend should be in there. There's no reason why ADO should be in there over Carter Bryant. But Tommy knows that talent. He understands the talent that Carter Bryant is. He knew how to manage him and still give him opportunities to show flashes of who he was without making mistakes that would maybe harm his stock or harm his confidence. So,
or be detrimental to the team.
Yeah, I think that this green room invite is a testament to his hard work this past season, his mentality, and the fact that Arizona's bringing in pro players. I very, very excited for Carter Bryant's pro career. I think he has a very high ceiling. I don't think he is maybe as NBA ready right now today as some of the other guys that are getting invited into that green room. But I think, like you said, his invite into that green room shows he is of that level, and he is exactly who we thought he was this entire past year at Arizona.
They're who we thought they were.
Exactly. And yeah, super excited for Carter Bryant. Super excited for Carter Bryant. And as he, Meek Mill, and Prim on Twitter would say, God bless the Dream Chasers. Like, I'm just excited for Carter Bryant in this NBA draft. I hope he goes as high as humanly possible so that you and I can be here on a podcast being like, Carter Bryant at number 9? What? Like, freaking out. I'm excited for that.
Yeah. A couple new faces here in the chat that I want to shout out real quick. We got J-Dub in here, says Koa is nice. J-Dub, let us know, are you a Kentucky fan? It says UK Cats at the top. Let us know, says Koa is nice. Frank K, couple good comments here on Carter Bryant. Says if Carter played 20 minutes a game, he'd be a top 10 pick. Lock. And then just said that, CB literally got better by the minute. Hopefully Tommy learned a lesson with NBA one-and-done type talent. Saul Bookman, what up, boys? Boots on the ground in Colorado Springs, talking a little bit of USA U19 basketball. We're going to have to get our guy Saul Bookman on this week to talk about what he is hearing and seeing out there at these Team USA practices and scrimmages and find out. So, yeah, give Saul Bookman a follow on Twitter. Easy to find if you type that name in, and he'll be keeping you updated, keeping us updated with what's going on, especially with Tommy Lloyd and Arizona players / maybe future recruits that Arizona is trying to nab. But also Anish says people forget how many defensive errors Carter used to make, especially early in the season, right? And he kind of I think was slowly getting better and better at that aspect of his game. Here's the thing about Carter. He's clearly not a finished product. Like, we know that for a fact. He's probably, in fact, maybe the rawest player of that group of 13 that was invited to the combine to the draft green room initially. Like, he's up there, right?
Yeah,
in terms of usage rate, like those guys were the stars of their universities when they were playing last year. Carter Bryant was more of a role player, right? But I think to your point, Kevin, it's very much a sign of his personality is something that teams want to buy into, right? And it's because he has that athletic ability. But not only does he have that, he wants to develop the right way. He proved that by, being a guy who was fine coming off the bench under Tommy Lloyd last season. He's about the long term. And I think that you see that combination of skills, athleticism, efficiency, and that attitude that you crave, right? And it's like, that's a guy we will make a big investment in. And that's why I think Carter Bryant will be a successful player, because he has that right attitude. I hope he ends up on a team like the Magic or something. Like I guess they just traded their pick for Desmond Bane.
So true.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe the Grizzlies even. But I'd like to see him end up on a team that has, more of an established roster that allows him to slow cook like he was at Arizona. I think that's the best fit for Carter. A Rockets, a Spurs, like teams that have some talent around them, I think is the ideal fit for a Carter Bryant. And yeah, it's going to be fun to watch where he ends up, showing up and showing out in the NBA. So shout out Carter Bryant, and we'll keep you updated regarding Carter Bryant stuff.
Even more important than the talent around him, which I do agree with you is important, I think the coaching is even more vital.
For sure.
Who is he couldn't coach by? If he goes to Houston, getting coached by Ime Udoka, I know for a fact Ime Udoka is going to get the most out of Carter Bryant, and that's the exact kind of player that Ime Udoka loves. Like, right, a guy that just shows up to work, says, "How hard do you want me to work, coach? I'm going to work exactly that hard, if not harder." And so, very excited for most of the options Carter Bryant has going into the draft. I did want to address this comment that Frank K left here that we addressed earlier. CB literally got better by the minute. Hopefully, Tommy learned a lesson with NBA one-and-done type talent. And I wanted to address this because when I was catching up on stuff I missed over the past weekend, part of that homework was the Tommy Lloyd press conference. And he mentioned something very interesting about his roster building, and I thought it was pertinent to bring up, not only because of that comment, but in light of the recent show you and I did where we went back and looked at all his recent recruiting classes and the trends in those classes and how it can maybe indicate things going forward. I almost think that the 2025 class, as loaded as it is, I know it sounds crazy, but I think actually is the best indication of where Arizona's recruiting is going to look and go going forward because of this. Tommy Lloyd mentioned in the press conference that this upcoming year, or actually this past year, was the last year for those COVID eligibility guys that had that extra year to be in the portal and, like the Zeke Mayos, the Caleb Loves. That was their last year to really have that extra one. So now... Not
if Zeke Mayo has anything to say about it.
But now, out of Tommy Lloyd's own mouth, it seems that they're shifting more towards a mix of very high-level high school guys and then maybe one or two, like... we need a Evan Nelson here to replace a Conrad Martinez. We need this there to replace this guy.
Yeah.
I
more
don't
proven commodities.
I actually don't expect him to utilize the portal as much as maybe Arizona fans, you and I alike, have come to expect him to do going forward. I think the change in the actual players in the pool out there are going to force coaches to kind of fall back in love with recruiting high school players again. Maybe I'm crazy, but I think we're going to see a lot more 2 5-star classes from Arizona and maybe a underwhelming on paper transfer class coming in, but because they're fit players and not focused players. You know what I mean? So I thought that was very interesting to hear Tommy Lloyd say, and to round it back into why I started talking about this, to address Frank's comment, I think Tommy Lloyd is addressing how he handles one-and-done talent. I think he is going to change the way he plays freshmen going forward, and not because I think he messed up with Carter Bryant. I don't think he thinks that. But I think because he knows that you don't really have Caleb Loves in the portal anymore. You don't really have some of these guys that you ordinarily would be going for during portal time anymore. So you got to lock in on the blue chippers when you can get them. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that at Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, I still think we'll be going after, like, I know you're talking about like an Evan Nelson, which is a little bit lower. I think, like, you'll still get the Jaden Bradley types.
Yes,
guys
like a Tobe Awaka type. Yes.
Guys that Tommy, Tobe's a little bit different, but like Jaden, a guy that Tommy recruited in the first place and was probably second in the running for. He enters the portal. Obviously, there's a predetermined relationship there. Obviously, he's a high-level talent, but, his stock had fallen a little bit because he came off the bench at Alabama his first season, and Tommy saw that was still a player that he wanted in his system. I think that that's the type of player that Arizona will still go after. Maybe not the star of the team per se, but definitely like good starter caliber type of players if there's a spot for him. Like next season, there's going to be so many spots open in this 2026 class that I think you have to go after a couple high-level transfers because otherwise you'll have zero experience on your roster from a collegiate basketball standpoint. But in general, I think that Carter Bryant was an extenuating circumstance when it comes to how Tommy Lloyd handled him. He's a weird one and done. Like that's not a typical Arizona one and done. Carter Bryant had usage concerns, aggressiveness concerns, coming out of high school. People were worried about that aspect of his game. They all like the Carter Bryant we saw at Arizona was very much the Carter Bryant evaluation that we got before Arizona, which was he's a guy who has all the tools, all the athleticism, length, good kid, can shoot the three. What he doesn't have is that kind of like that killer instinct, if you will, to want to just take over a game. And I think that was partly what Arizona was trying to get out of him. But I also think that that's why he was a guy that could come off the bench despite his high level talent, is because he just didn't have that instinct necessarily coming in. Whereas I think Braden Burries and Koa Peat, that's something that we don't have to worry about. Like those guys are dogs. Those guys are, and not that Carter's not, just that they're going to want the ball in their hands. They're going to want to shoot their shots and whatnot. And I think that's what makes it a little bit different. I agree, Tom. Kevin is looking rested and fired up. Another quick thing before we move on, Kevin, Tommy Lloyd also said that Caleb is 100% regarding Caleb Love, 100% going to be in the NBA next year. 100%, he says.
Can I say something about this?
Quote
real quick?
unquote. He said 100% twice in that quote. And then he brought up Andrew Nembhard, Pacers guard Andrew Nembhard, who's had a great postseason by all accounts, as a player that a lot of people underrated, a player that a lot of people didn't think really had the chops to be a NBA player, and a guy who's carved out a role for himself because he's a good basketball player. And the last time that I heard something like this, and we talk about it all the time, Sean Miller about TJ McConnell. He said that guy is going to play in the NBA for 10 years. No one believed him, but he was right. And I believe Tommy Lloyd when he says that. I've long thought, like, Caleb Love, it doesn't make sense to me. He's athletic. He improved his defensive and his playmaking ability last season. In particular, he's always been a scorer. I just think that that's a guy that will find his way onto a roster somewhere. I don't know if he'll play in the NBA for 10 years like TJ McConnell, but I do think that that's an NBA player, regardless of whether or not he's viewed as one by the masses.
Correct. And I also, I've been waiting to get in front of a microphone to say this exact thing for a couple days now, because I remember when I was in college at Arizona, I was an intern for Eye on the Ball, a radio show down there by, at the time, Jay Gonzalez and Steve Rivera, now just Steve Rivera. And me and Steve had a conversation on air one day about, is Caleb Love an NBA player? And I was like, 100. I don't know if I said 100% just like Tommy did, but my sentiment was 100%. He is an NBA player. Yeah. Look at what he has done at the highest level available to him. He has done nothing but succeed. He's done nothing but win huge games.
Yep.
And he's done nothing but be a steadying hand for teams that are in huge games all the time, and the nation's all eyes on them. And there's a lot of pressure, a lot of fans, a lot of stuff, I'll say, being thrown in your direction that you have to handle and dip and dodge and to remain locked on the goal. And he's doing all that, averaging 20-plus points a game and getting better every year as a guard. And I think that when you look at guys that succeed at the pro level, it's guys that have rounded out their game with the time they have available to them before they get there, right? I think Caleb Love is a guy that once he makes it onto an NBA roster, that once he finished his college career, I knew he was going to make it onto an NBA roster simply because, like I said, the guy is a winner. He is focused on improvement. He's a high-level bucket getter. We all know putting the ball into the bucket at a high level is one of the hardest things to do in terms of sports on planet Earth. And I think having a guy that can do it against the best of the best, regardless of the level, is valuable, and someone's going to see that and be like, let's give that guy a chance. Take out a flyer on Caleb Love. Why not? Better than taking a flyer on someone who put up, let's say 5 points in a college season at the guard position. You know what I mean? You want a guy who's done it again, done it a third time, well, he's done it a fourth time, and then came back again and did it a fifth time.
Carter Bryant and Caleb Love couldn't be more opposite as prospects in that regard.
Yeah. To be fair, the 5 points wasn't a Carter Bryant.
No. I know it wasn't, but that's who it immediately made me think of. Like you're looking at a guy who was the star of every college basketball team that he was on, right? And was by all accounts a phenomenal collegiate player throughout his 5 years in college basketball. And then you have a one and done prospect who you're banking almost entirely on potential, right? And so it's just like they're kind of the just complete opposites on the spectrum of one another. But we're going to get into a little bit more of Koa Peat and what he's doing at Team USA in Colorado Springs, as we mentioned earlier. and we're going to talk some Arizona baseball, just what happened this weekend, a couple Arizona football recruits. We'll do that right after the break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. But first, let's talk about our friends at Empire Today, Kevin. Empire Today is the place to get your flooring needs done. They are the flooring experts, guys. And that doesn't mean that, this isn't some store where this is just one of the million things that they do. You go ask, an employee at one of those big box stores, hey, can you help me with flooring? I could, but really, Jay down, he's working with somebody right now. He's actually kind of better with flooring. So maybe when he's done talking to that customer in 30 minutes. No, Empire Today is like, this is everything that they do. They're flooring experts. They show up at your house. They give you a free in-home estimate. They take a picture of that room and they show you exactly what your new flooring will look like in said room before you get it installed, before you make a purchase that you regret for the rest of your life. It is that simple, guys. Empire Today, there's a reason that they are the flooring experts. They eat, sleep, breathe flooring. We have our Empire Today flooring over in Studio A, and it is pristine flooring, baby. Pristine. Every time I look at it, it shines, it's beautiful, and it's the most durable flooring I've seen pretty much in my entire life, because with the savages and freaks in this office, Kevin, you know that if there was a way to break it, it would have been broken already, but we've had it for over a year and it has not been broken. That is what is special about Empire Today. Quality product, quality price, and a quality discount with our promo code PHNX for $350 off that brand new flooring. $350 off. You guys have heard the jingle. Empire Today. Go show up on their website, empiretoday.com/PHNX for full details and get that $350 discount on your brand new flooring.
Empire Today. Also, VMe. Shout out to VMe. Anyone, anything, anytime. And I'm talking about wagering with your friends. It can be for money. It can be for free. It could just be for the love of the game.
Could it be for maybe getting a heart put into your hair?
In a hypothetical situation where someone would foolishly bet something like that, yeah, no, I'm sure you could do that on VMe. You can bet anything, anyone, anytime, anywhere with VMe. It's honestly a first of its kind product. It is, how many times have you bet a friend something and not gotten a payback? How many times have you wondered, how can we track this wager over the course of the 6 months? How can we track this wager over the course of years?
Yeah.
Over all the time of our friendship, right? VMe is the way to do that. If you want to find out, I think that Arizona is going to win the national championship, and maybe one of my friends in St. Louis thinks, nah, they're a Sweet 16 team. We can bet on that today with VMe, and then when the time comes to pay up, no questions about it, you will get your payout with VMe. And it's quite simple, and you can share. You can share this stuff with your friends, and I think that's one of the coolest parts, because the amount of times in my life I've made wagers with friends, word of mouth wagers that get forgotten, it lost in the space of time. Steve Rivera, I should have VME'd Steve Rivera about Caleb Love being in the NBA.
That would have been a good one.
I would have historical proof that I made that bet, and now I'm just gonna have to go back through the annals of that show and find it. But anyway, check out VMe. Download the VMe app today and play using code PHNX. Available on the App Store and Google Play. VMe, anyone, anything, anytime.
Michael brings up the Arkansas pitcher in the College World Series that just threw the first no-hitter since 1960. Wild. Gage Wood.
Sick name, man.
Is unbelievable.
Sick name.
And I'm kind of a Arkansas hater, not for like actual serious reasons. Like I don't actually like go to sleep at night thinking about Arkansas, but I did get into it with Arkansas fans a couple of years ago on Twitter. I know, shocking. But basically, like when we got rid of Sean Miller, Kevin, there was like a slight rumor like, hey, Eric Musselman could be in contention for the Arizona job. And Arkansas fans were legitimately telling me online that they have a better basketball program than we do. I swear to God. And I was literally in arguments with these people saying, find me one list that has Arkansas above Arizona and I will concede that it's even a possibility. But you can't. If you look up all-time college basketball program rankings, not one has Arkansas in front of Arizona. And then what does Eric Musselman do? Oh, that's right. He wants to be on the West Coast so bad. He leaves for USC. USC. Has anyone ever been more right about an argument in their life? The fact that he was willing to leave Arkansas for USC and they thought that he was too good for Arizona. Unbelievable. And so I will say though, when Gage Wood came off the mound and he started doing the like repping the Arkansas immediately, fired me up a little bit. Unbelievable performance from Gage Wood. What a College World Series is great. Sucked the way that Arizona's games went. But do you want to get into that real quick? We don't have to talk too much about it. I did my emergency pod yesterday talking about, the loss. But Kevin, you obviously watched the game yesterday. I don't know if you watched the Coastal game on Friday, but
I did.
Just what were your thoughts on overall on the baseball played by Arizona this weekend?
They should still be playing baseball.
Yeah.
I think that's the only takeaway you can have from it. And we do have clips from the, press conference where Chip Hale and Smith Bailey, Garen Caulfield and Tommy Splain all spoke. But I think before we get to those clips, I think I wanted to say and even some of Chip Hale's answers kind of alluded to this, right? There is no other takeaway other than we screwed ourselves out of baseball in the College World Series. Yeah. That and credit to Louisville, who is a fine baseball team, very highly talented baseball team, a ton of skill, speed, and intelligent base running on that side. But Arizona had no right losing that baseball game, and they should still be dancing in the World Series, and they're not. I think this is one that's not even from a fan's perspective, forget that. I've never been a baseball player at that level. I've never been a baseball player, right? But this one feels like it's going to be one that stings for years and years and years if you're not coming back to next year's team. If you're not Smith Bailey and you're not coming back to Arizona next year. Yeah, this one's going to sting. And it's going to be one that's going to wake you up in the middle of the night. And you're going to be if you're Mason White, you're going to remember that error in the 8th inning. You're going to wake up sweaty in the middle of the night thinking of that error. And that's just what it is. But he, I also want to say to the people on social media that were up in arms and about, Mason White is not good or these players, Tony Pluta, fraud, relax. This is probably your third baseball game you've tuned into this season, right? So maybe let's pump the brakes on criticizing guys who have repped Arizona probably harder than Mason White's a third-generation Wildcat. Do I even have to qualify how hard he reps Arizona? I don't. So the idea that because of one mistake on, yes, the biggest stage so far for him, you know what I mean? Can we calm down? And Erica is not just one guy. It is more people on social media that when Arizona is in these big events, they tune in, and when Arizona loses, they go apoplectic and they blow up about, Arizona sucks and I can't believe Chip Hale this and Mason White that and it's why? I thought this is the school you loved. Why can't you just enjoy tuning in to support the school? And if they're actually doing things that deserve that level of criticism, sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's heartbreaking. There's no way. You don't need to dance around it. It sucks. But at the same time, you don't think that it sucks for the guys that are on TV making the mistakes that are they're going to remember that for the rest of their lives. And they don't need to be told that, or that's how they'll be remembered as Wildcats or whatever. Mason White is an all-time player for this program. He's a hometown kid. He's a third-generation Arizona Wildcat baseball player. It sucks that that's how it all culminated, right? But at the same time, the journey to get here is entirely, in part because of Mason White and his 8 homers in his last 11 games prior to the final loss of the season. It's tough, but at the same time, it happens. And I think the part that sucks for Arizona fans, and I from my perspective too, and I feel like we can be honest about this. It's sports. You have to call it like it is. The worst part is that the players that Arizona put all their marbles into, put the chips into the table into, are probably pretty much the ones that kind of, for lack of a better term, blew it.
Yeah, cost you.
You have Tony Pluta pitches probably his 2 worst performances of the season in the final 2 games, who was absolutely lights out money. I brought your tweet on my emergency post game. I did 39-0, 7th inning or later while tied or winning the game this season, 0-2 in the College World Series. Sometimes you just say, we lost. Mason White obviously didn't play his best baseball especially in that second game against Louisville. Right?
Got you here, though.
Brendan Summerhill was horrible.
Yeah.
He was horrible in the final stretch of this season. That guy's going to be a first-round pick in Major League Baseball. He's the highest caliber player on the roster, according to MLB scouts. He went 0 for 5 with 2 strikeouts yesterday, was not good in the Coastal Carolina game either. Had a really bad AB that, could have driven in a huge run. It sucks that your horses are the ones that kind of let you down here. But at the same time, you still make the College World Series, and you should have won both games that you played. And I think that sucks, but it also, it shows you how thin the margin is. And also it shows you that's baseball sometimes, because you have a couple bloopers land on the freaking foul line, not hard hit balls. If in fact, and I saw actually Tony Pluta's dad said this on Twitter, if those balls are hit harder, they're outs. The fact that they were hit so softly, they lead to hits and they lead to big innings that lose you your season. And that's the crappy part about baseball sometimes. But I didn't say it.
No, I don't even know what you're talking about. You were actually shushing me.
That's the crappy part about baseball sometimes, is that, like you can hit the ball off the end of the bat and it lands on the foul line, turns into a double, which leads to a rally, which leads to you taking the lead. Like, it sucks, but it is what it is. And yeah, it sucks to see Arizona fans kind of turning their back on people like that. We can call it like it is at the same time, while also, saying that, that these guys are all-time Wildcats, all-time people. And it was a great season, all things considered. Chip Hale gets his first taste of postseason success. Garrett Hicks was very good. Felt horrible for Garrett Hicks with those earned runs in that Coastal Carolina game, because that dude went out there and shoved. And the only reason that we lose that game is because of that off the end of the bat double. In which case, also Brendan Summerhill playing hurt. Like, he's not running full speed to go get that baseball. And so, yeah, that part of it all kind of blows. But Kevin, we did have some sound regarding Arizona baseball and just kind of the post game stuff that they were talking about. Which one did you want to play first?
I feel like we should probably start with Chip Hale talking about the overall, there was the one word that kept popping up was uncharacteristic mistakes that Arizona had, not just in the College World Series, but down the stretch of the season. And it kind of was kicked off by a reporter asking a question about, Maddox's, foolish stolen base attempt that Chip Hale had to say this about, and then went on to a long rant about mistakes.
Was that the call for him to run on that?
No, okay. The ball's in front of him. He knows, if he can make it or not. He just made a bad decision. We just did a lot of things, that were uncharacteristic of us at the, during this run. People ask all the time, well, how, you were struggling a little bit early in the middle of the year, and we played a lot like this. We made a lot of base running mistakes. We didn't execute, on bunt plays. Twice they bunted the ball. We didn't get an out, a rundown. There were so many things. So it just slowly slipped away. You could see it slipping away. Unfortunately, you're doing everything you can to try to keep the guys positive and keep them with it. But you could see at certain points that there were guys who were starting to, get with their own disappointments, let that kind of cloud what was going on in the game. So, yeah, we're very, and once the tide turned, that's where Louisville takes advantage of you. They're really good with the bunting. They're really good with the base running. They put a lot of pressure on you. So while we were ahead, we kept them at bay. But you got to give them credit. Once they got the chance, they saw the opening like we did during the other games during the playoffs. They really took advantage of it. So you got to give them credit.
Yeah. I mean, just goes to show that Arizona just wasn't playing its cleanest baseball towards the end of the season here. And it's just it's a brutal culmination of errors kind of at the end of this season, especially just sloppy baseball, right? Like, you're just not playing. He mentions the bunts, and then you look at Louisville and it's the opposite, right? Like, I'm not to say that Louisville was like some unbeatable, perfect baseball team, but that's a team that does the little things because they can't hit for power. They don't have any power hitters on their team, so all they do is hit singles, steal bases, bunt people over, and it ended up getting the job done.
And what can't you do against a team like that, Damon? You can't let them just stick around.
Yeah,
because if they stick around, they're going to get one.
You could have been up 5-1, 6-1 based off of having 2 runners on, 0 outs in that like 6th inning or whatever, based off of Mason White getting thrown out in that pickle in the 1st inning. Like, though, you left runs on the board in those moments, and that's where you screw yourself over. And again, like, I'll say it again, as much as I don't want to like harp on the guy, like, Brendan Summerhill goes 0 for 5. He's considered to be like maybe the best hitter on the team. Like, you just can't have that in those moments. But another guy that just didn't play his best baseball but was nails all season long is Tony Pluta. Chip Hale spoke about Tony Pluta and his performance in the College World Series, as well as just mistakes being made.
Yeah, I think Kevin just wanted to settle him down and let everybody know, hey, how we're going to play this with the bases loaded, or, it was uncharacteristic. We're using that word a lot, aren't we? And you know what? Maybe the 60-some pitches last weekend, it's tough on a body. It's a lot of pitches for him. So he definitely was not as sharp as he has been. I mean, I know those are some blue pits and all that, but he gets a lot more swing and miss than that. So, hey, it's college baseball. It's a sport, and the ball bounces funky ways. So we have to live with it. We got some great breaks along the way, too.
I appreciate, Kevin, that I felt like there wasn't like a lot of like we're feeling sorry for ourselves at the end of this one. It felt a lot like, we just have to wear it, and we had a great season, and it just sucks that this is how it ended because, and I'm sure that there were tears and whatnot, but I didn't really see them. It was a lot of like, kind of standing on business. And like when I saw the players walk into that room, like none of them looked like they were like depressed, distraught. Like they looked like they were like, we just didn't play our best baseball, and we know we could have been better than that, but it just didn't happen the way we wanted it to.
Yeah, and honestly, you kind of read my mind there because I wanted to end this baseball conversation on a bit of a positive note, right? Because there's a lot of negatives with the way the season ended, and I think part of the reason why they wore it the way that they did in front of the media, Damon, was because they knew this was self-inflicted, and there's nothing you can do but sit there and, like you said, wear it and look yourself in the mirror and say, we cost ourselves a chance at continuing our season. Even if you didn't win the whole thing, you could have continued to play, and you never know what happens from then on out. So I do think one of the players that when they did walk in looked like, I'm not going to say emotional, but looked like he did maybe have some emotions in the locker room before he went out there was Smith Bailey, who came in wearing the sunglasses, sat down. Chip Hale puts his arm around him, kind of shakes him a little bit like, you got this. We're going to get, it's like 10 minutes. You're going to get through this. Mm-hmm. And yeah, Michael said in the chat, ruined a gem from Bailey, which does suck. You talked about Hicks shoving. Smith Bailey looked dominant. And I know here are his stats from the game against Louisville. The stats don't really truly even do justice to just how dominant he was, because he let up 7 hits. So if I threw up the 7 hits here, it still looks like an okay day for a pitcher. But Smith Bailey, the mentality on the mound, the command he had over that game, he was dominant over Louisville. He went through 3 times, started working his changeup in more. The broadcast was talking about how Smith Bailey was having the best, most comprehensive mix of pitches that they had seen at the College World Series thus far, period. Reliever, starter, closer, period. Smith Bailey was mixing his pitches the most effectively throughout the course of 3 cycles through a lineup. You know it, I know it, everyone at home knows it. Most coaches, especially at the college level, once you get through 2 times, they're really hesitant to let you face that lineup 3 times through, because what do you got left for them to fool them? Smith Bailey had a lot left for that lineup at Louisville, and it's unfortunate Arizona couldn't close that game out for him because the freshman absolutely dominated the game. I think put a lot of people on notice as to what he's capable of, and this is kind of Smith Bailey talking about how this performance and him developing as a freshman can actually help Arizona as a program.
I think it's great. I think it's like kind of something that everyone can look at, recruits can maybe look at and see that Vance and John and all the coaches have done a great job with development. Beginning of the season or before the season started wasn't the best. And then John and Vance did a great job of just helping me improve throughout the season and getting to where I am today.
Yeah, and I think, when he speaks about how looking at what the pitching coaches have done for him this year, and not only him, but some of the other pitchers on this roster, he spoke about Tony Pluta. I think you and I spoke about this off air, I believe, but how Tony Pluta doesn't have the nastiest stuff in college baseball. Like, that's no disrespect to him. It's actually a compliment to him, because being able to go out there and earn the Stopper of the Year award without necessarily the nastiest, most fastest, craziest movement type stuff is truly impressive, right? So what Arizona's pitching coaches, what Kevin Vance, I believe, is able to do, sorry if I misspoke on that name, but what he's able to do with these pitchers has been truly impressive over the course of this season, Damon. And I also think that, Smith Bailey started the season against Louisville. He started his year against Louisville, Damon, and I think it's actually a big reason as to why him and the staff were able to put together a game plan that allowed him to go through the lineup 3 times through. And real quick, this is Smith Bailey talking about his overall outing, what he thought went well, and if facing Louisville to start the season benefited him in the College Baseball World Series.
Mm-hmm.
It felt the same as every other outing, just because I do everything the same. I just tried to execute my pitches and keep my composure with any hits or anything that happened that didn't go our way. I think they're just a great hitting team. I think throughout the season they've adjusted and just improved throughout the season. I think I had a little bit of an advantage just because I kind of knew what some of the kids could and couldn't hit, but I could definitely tell that some kids just kind of fought a little bit more, fouled some balls off, hit some grounders. Just a great hitting team, and I had a little bit more confidence coming into this outing, just knowing that the first game was a little bit successful. So I think that was pretty good.
Yeah, absolute incredible performance from Smith Bay from Smith.
It's a bit of a mind trip because it's two. Usually it's weird with two first names.
Yeah,
but this is two last names.
Mm-hmm.
This is like Smith Bailey.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know why I started over that, but yeah, he had an incredible season, great freshman performance, and I think that Michael asked out of the juniors had a big role with this year, who goes and who stays. I think that the main thing you can hang your hat on with this program moving forward is that Smith Bailey is Kramkowski, Tony Pluta. Like, you're getting a lot. I think you're going to get a lot of your pitching staff back, and the guys that helped keep you in these games for this big lineup. I know you lose a lot of big time hitters, but I feel like hitters are a little bit more replaceable in college baseball than pitchers are, because it's hard to find quality pitchers. Most of the best pitchers get drafted out of high school because they're clearly far and away MLB caliber pitchers, right? Like, if a guy's throwing 95 in high school, he's a first round draft pick. He's not going to college. So I think that having the pitching in place is bigger than having the hitters in place. You're going to need to bring in a lot of transfer hitters probably to be competitive next year. But the pitching staff should be in a fairly good spot as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, it was a brutal end of the season. And, obviously you lose to Louisville twice. Smith Bailey, you mentioned he gives up those 7 hits. Like, I think that's the other thing. Like, against Louisville, like 7 hits is a little different than against other teams because they're not putting any slug on that. Those are all, singles up the middle and line drive over the shortstop's head and stuff. Like, and then he just did a great job of limiting the damage. And that's why he had such an incredible performance. Incredible season from Arizona baseball, all things considered, and just a tough end of the season, Kevin. But it is what it is, and that's the unfortunate part about everybody's season has to come to an end except one team, right? And there's a world where Arizona is up 2-0, and because Coastal Carolina beat Oregon State by 4 runs. I believe Lost Highway put up there in the chat earlier that Coastal did the same thing that they were doing against us with the dinky hits and the leaning into pitches, which is funny and why we hate Coastal Carolina now. But it's just a tough end of this season. Let's move off of baseball. It was sad it happened, but we're gonna talk a little bit of Koa Peat, a little bit of Team USA. Tommy Lloyd and Co. And when I say Co, I don't mean Koa, but Tommy.
I loved it though. I loved it.
Tommy Lloyd and Koa.
Yeah, Tommy Lloyd and Koa.
Yeah, Koa Peat trying out for the Team USA team. I believe KSR, which is Kentucky Sports Radio, now associated with On3, had a excerpt from one of their guys who's out there at practices calling Koa Peat the MVP of the day of yesterday's practice. Said that AJ DeBansta had the highest highs in talent that was seen all over the floor. Apparently AJ DeBansta just absolutely took over one portion of a scrimmage, unlike what anybody did. But he said that who impressed him the most from the time he walked into the gym until the time he walked out was Arizona's, future star Koa Peat. He's in great shape. He's moving extremely well, playing above the rim after being previously seen as an undersized 4 who made up for athleticism with skill and a high basketball IQ, which Kevin and I will dive into.
We'll get to that later.
The 6'8" forward swatted shots away, threw down some vicious posters as a grab-and-go threat off the rebound. One of the most decorated players in high school basketball history. True. He wrote his name into the 12-member final roster with Sharpie after
Capital
an unbelievable start in the Colorado Springs practices. Pete just produces and contributes to winning, no question about it. So high praise for our guy Koa Peat. I think this is what we expected, Kevin. It really, really is. Like, this Koa Peat is a unbelievable talent. And I think that me and you are both of the opinion that if he wasn't a guy who hurt his hand, he would be a guy that probably rose in the final recruiting rankings rather than fell like he did, falling to 11th, becoming the out of the top 10 recruits in the country. Feels like that at this point is a little bit of a mistake. No, at least as far as I'm concerned, because I've long held that I think Koa Peat is one of the 5 best players in this 2025 class. I think it's crazy that he isn't considered one, kind of unanimously. And I think that stuff like this proves when he's going up against that top level talent and he's dominating, like, this is a player that obviously is an elite upper echelon talent and one of the best players in the country probably next season.
Koa Peat's a winner at every level that he competes at.
All he does is win.
And that excerpt had it in there that, the guy contributes to winning at the highest level everywhere he goes. He's one of the most decorated high school basketball players of all time. Check the state, doesn't matter. Koa Peat is, we said it with Carter Bryant. He's as advertised, right? You know what I mean? And I think when you have a guy like Koa Peat, and I don't know how I haven't put these two together yet, but the reason Dwayne Aristote has been so underrated is because he had a Mo Krivas-like foot injury, going into his senior year that kept him out for a full season, right?
Yeah.
So you have a super under-recruited guy that probably would have been at the McDonald's All-American game next to Koa Peat, next to Braden Burries, and you don't. Like, he doesn't make it because of that injury. Koa Peat, likely underrated because he couldn't put up the stats in the playoffs, and then because of the hand, and then also couldn't participate fully in the McDonald's All-American stuff because of the same hand. So I think it's kind of ironic how two of Arizona's 3 biggest recruits coming into this season are still extremely high level and still extremely highly regarded, but they could be even more sought after, even more hype surrounding them if people were truly tapped into their potential and not just, their availability, which I agree is an important thing. But with Koa Peat, that's not a question. And I believe with Dwayne Aristote, it is also not a question. Very excited. I believe that they released the finalists for those final 12 spots.
Yeah, made a couple cuts.
As that excerpt said, Koa Peat's in there with pen. It's not even a question. Sharpie, branded.
It's different than pen.
Yep.
Pen's even more. I mean, you could maybe smudge off a pen. Sharpie is permanent, brother.
Permanent marker. Some of the finalists announced, some of the notable guys: Michael Brown Jr., Chris Sinak Jr., and then you also have. This kind of didn't shock me, but I was surprised this morning when I looked at this list and saw Tyrone Riley IV made the final list of finalists for those 12 spots. The San Francisco talent, the wing player that Damon and I identified as a player that Tommy Lloyd should want on his 2025-26 roster as a potential Carter Bryant. I'll not say replacement, but filler kind of there. It did not work out that way. He ends up returning to San Francisco, but he is going to end up playing for Tommy Lloyd, it looks like, in this Team USA situation. So
I wonder if we could see a Tyrone Riley next season maybe jump in the portal and come to Arizona. I wouldn't
be shocked,
seems
right?
Like the book is kind of closed on this year, but I wonder if he could be like the man at San Francisco this year, have a great season, and then turn around and be like, okay, time to take my talents to Arizona where there's a ton of playing time available, ton of shots available to get up. And I could see a world in which that happens, which seems like it would be like insane levels of tampering. But that's what happens when your coach is the Team USA coach, man. You get that added benefit of these guys getting to play for a coach that is so likable and so easy to play for as Tommy Lloyd is.
At least Tad Boyle got Cody Williams, right?
Crickets. But yeah, it's a list full of big time players. You got Brandon McCoy, who's I think number 2 in his class in 2026. Arizona's recruiting pretty hard. There's
Nick Kamania, who Arizona was in on. He's going to Duke next year. Obviously, we already mentioned AJ DeBanza, who is looking like. I was reading that same article from On3 KSR. Check that out. But what didn't shock me, what I was like, ooh, it perked my ears up, was the writer noted that NBA scouts that were in attendance were not talking about how good AJ DeBanza is going to be in college next year. They were wondering how many points he could average in the NBA today.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
That's the same kind of conversation that was happening surrounding Cooper Flagg last season. When he was not even for Team USA U19, he was doing it against Team USA, the actual Team USA.
And it started a lot earlier too.
Yeah, but Interesting stuff. The writer over there is Jack Pilgrim, by the way. I want to give him a shout out for his work he's doing in Colorado Springs. Not close to the work that my guy Saul Bookman's going to be doing in Colorado Springs, though.
Oh, wow.
I'll say it. I'll start some beef.
Go for it, man.
I'll start some beef.
We had J-Dub in the chat. We had J-Dub in the chat earlier, so maybe we're just gonna start the Kentucky Arizona fighting for the Wildcats moniker thing.
Let's go head on over to overtime, Kevin.
Yeah, we probably should get on over to overtime, Damon, because we're past.
Let's continue this Koa Peat conversation. But yeah, I'd like you to pull up that excerpt one more time as we're gonna divulge one particular statement that was said in here. Being previously seen as an undersized 4 who made up for athleticism with skill and a high basketball IQ. Kevin, what are your thoughts on this?
You know, when you said this to me, I was like, oh, like undersized 4, that actually kind of makes sense. Like I could see
an undersized 4 in college basketball, though. I mean, like, I guess I could see the argument that he's an undersized 4 in the scope of, the NBA, but 6'8" is, I mean, our center's 6'8", literally.
Yeah.
Tobe Walker's 6'8",
yeah,
and he's elite dominating rebounder at the college level. I don't think 6'8" is undersized whatsoever for a 4. And if you watch Koa Peat, here's where I'll say, like, Jack Pilgrim, shout out, thanks for the excerpt. If you've ever thought Koa Peat is an unathletic player,
yes,
that has to make up for his lack of athleticism with high basketball IQ, you have never heard of Koa Peat. You have no idea who Koa Peat is.
1000%. And that's kind of what I was more so getting at is like I could hear an argument for him being an undersized 4 if you're saying like if you're projecting him to the pros.
Yes.
Like if you're saying like as a pro, he's probably more of a
like
3.
Aaron Gordon. Like
yes.
Aaron Gordon's an
yes.
undersized 4 technically,
yes.
but he went to the NBA, is clearly a 4, is 6'8", hyper athletic, and
yeah.
But that's exactly the type of player that Koa Peat is. An elite top 10 high school basketball player who's 6'8", projects as an NBA 4, and runs the floor like crazy, can defend every position essentially. Like that's what you're getting in Koa Peat. That's why he's special.
Yes, and that's all I'm saying. Like I could maybe hear an argument for him being undersized at the pro at the 4, but I cannot hear an argument for him making up for anything with his athleticism. I don't believe that Koa Peat's thinking to himself out there, I can't jump with this guy. I got to figure out how to position myself better. Like he's worried about how to position himself better for sure. Because he's worried about becoming a professional basketball player. So he's worried about developing his game to be the most well-rounded, solid game possible. But it is not for lack of athleticism. Like
never.
This is a man who there's a photo circulating on the internet out there. It's going to be out there in perpetuity forever of Koa Peat trying to dunk and being defended by 4 players. I've never, ever in my life, Luka Doncic is probably the best player with the least athleticism at the NBA level.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the right way to say that.
Yeah.
And I've seen him guarded by a lot of players out on the perimeter. I ain't never seen Luka Doncic guarded like that in the paint, going up for like a layup or dunk. Because people in the paint know he don't got it like that. He's not going to dunk on you. But people in the paint know if Koa Peat's coming, watch out.
Yeah.
AJ DeBanza, go to our Twitter right now. Look up that video of Koa Peat taking flight in the Team USA practice trials. AJ DeBanza is making business decisions.
Olay.
Yeah. And I understand this is a scrimmage. You're not going to jump with. That's fine. That's not the point I'm making here. The point is, like, anyone who's ever seen Koa Peat, and we're not trying to rag on KSR. This is actually a really good article. Great coverage. But anyone who's ever watched him knows he's not having a problem to make up for athleticism with skill and high basketball IQ. He combines his athleticism with his skill and high basketball IQ.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why his athleticism maybe is a little slept on. Because you're not really paying that close of attention to how much of a freak athlete he is, because he's making great passes and he's showcasing his skill, and you get caught up on that and you forget that he's also a freak athlete. But Damon,
that's why he's underrated.
Exactly.
That's why he's underrated, in my opinion, because you have people, legitimate national basketball people out here who, I guess the consensus thought is that this guy is not that athletic. What? It's like, did you guys watch Koa Peat when you evaluated him? If I was watching Koa Peat tape, I think my number one takeaway would be, oh my God, this guy will dunk on anybody's head. Number one takeaway. is that he's got an NBA body and NBA athleticism from the moment he steps on a college basketball floor. And can you pull up the excerpt one more time? I just want to read it. Like I said it right now, but being previously seen as an undersized 4 who makes up for his lack of athleticism with skill and high basketball IQ. Are they talking about Trey Townsend or Koa Peat? Dead ass, Kevin. Dead ass.
No, you're right. And also, I find it ironic that I'm going to keep this up for a second here because I'm going to break it down. After the highlighted portion, it directly contradicts itself by saying the 6'8" forward was swatting shots away and threw down some of the most vicious posters as a grab-and-go threat off the rebound. Huh. Now, Damon.
Well, they're saying that they didn't know that he had that in his bag, which is like, that's Koa Peat's entire goddamn game.
I know, but I'm saying, like, I can't believe that, like, because it's not like he's doing stuff. This is my point. It's not like he's doing stuff new at the USA trials.
No.
He's just doing it in front of your eyes now.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, it's like, oh, you've never watched Koa Peat before because you should be going in expecting him to do all these things because that's exactly the kind of player he is. Rim running, floor running, facilitating, gigantic, freak, strong athlete that can do a little bit of everything on a basketball court, probably except for being like a knockdown shooter from the perimeter, right? But everything else.
He's a little bit of midi to him, though.
Yeah, but I'm not saying like he's out here like dead. Like I wouldn't say that's like a real tool in his toolbox.
He's gonna have to improve
exactly.
upon.
Yes. So yeah. Overall, extremely excited to see how good of an account Koa Peat is making for himself in Colorado Springs. But zero surprise. Fran Fraschilla, I know you brought this to my attention this morning. I saw it when I woke up. Fran Fraschilla, national analyst. I think you kind of were referencing this earlier as well.
Goat.
Yes.
We need to get Fran on this show.
We do.
I love Fran, man.
tweeted.
Dude, that guy just loves hoops, dude. And loves Big 12 hoops in particular. Like, eats, sleeps, breathes it. Like Empire Today with their flooring.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like Circle K with their gas?
Yeah.
Like Shady Rays with their sunglasses. All right, we're done. But check out Beamy. Fran Fraschilla, he tweeted this morning that at Arizona men's basketball has added a terrific young player in Koa Peat. He will take a backseat to no freshman in the country this year.
Nobody.
I mean, I don't got to explain the English language to Fran Fraschilla, but that means, folks, that he's saying, AJ DeBansa, take a back seat. You did it once with the number 1 ranking in the country. You're going to do it again with the number 1 freshman in the country.
Darren Peterson's a Big 12 guy.
I know.
And he's saying take a back seat to no freshman in the country. Fran would not say that. I mean, he loves Kansas. Like,
and he also said he went on to finish by saying, and I think his choice of words here is very intentional. Currently, quote, dominating at the USA junior, under 19 trials in Colorado Springs. And then I thought this was funny. Someone asked Fran what his major was. I think they were being a little bit, cheeky there by being like, oh, what's he majoring in? Fran goes, Hoopology 401, NBA lottery. I love that. I love that he didn't go 101. Like, he actually thought, he's like, well, when you go to college, the 101's the freshman course. Koa's ready for the senior course. He's going straight to the lottery.
He got some AP credit in high school.
He got a lot of AP credit. He got community college credit in high school.
He got a 5 on his AP test.
Oh, yeah. I remember. Oh, man, I remember those. But, yeah, Damon, real quick.
I just want to say that I'm so confident that if Koa Peat was at the McDonald's All-American game, his ranking would have gone up, not down. And it's solely because he was hurt and couldn't practice in those practices that he dropped down out of the top 10. Like, this is a top 5 prospect in this class. And
Correct.
I'll say it again. And I've said it for long periods of time. You cannot give me 5 basketball players in the 2025 class that are going to be more impactful than Koa Peat next season. I will stand on that. If I'm wrong, clip this at me, do whatever, throw it in my face. I don't care. He is going to be a clear, far and away freshman All-American first-team player. There's no question in my mind about that. Maybe we're looking at it for Usty takes in the future here, Kevin, but I don't know, man. I think that if he practiced at the McDonald's All-American game, we're looking at like his ranking being like 4th, 5th right now, and not 11th. But ultimately it matters none. But I just think that, like the fact that they're so, like, these people, these ratings people are so fickle that they can see a guy who won 4 straight state championships in high school, played with a broken hand to win his 4th one in his senior season because he cares so much about winning and cares so much about his team. And by the way, another thing I respect about Koa Peat, and I'm saying this from being a guy who went to a private high school for sports reasons in particular. Like Koa Peat reps public schools and says that I want to show people that you can do this at a public school without having to go to Dream City Christian, without having to go to, Hillcrest Prep. Like these like basketball schools where these Bella Vista Prep or whatever, like, by the way, Bella Vista Prep is
more shots.
Dude, Bella Vista Prep is right by my house that I just moved into.
Fire.
I drive by it. It is literally in a actual home in a neighborhood. It's a house. It's considered a high school. And like when school gets out, Kevin, you drive by and it's just a bunch of 7-foot basketball players. And
just walking out of this mansion.
You're just like driving by. I drove by it once and I was like, what the hell's going on here? And then I was like, oh, that's where Bella Vista Prep is? Because I was like, what are all these 6'5" freaks doing walking around just on the street? And it's pretty jarring to look at. But like this guy did it he wanted to do it at, an actual high school. And I respect that, man. And he's a good dude. He cares about his community. And it just like, I just can't believe this kind of, I don't want to call it a tear down, but just like the kind of just the underrating of Koa Peat in general. It's not right. And he's going to prove it next season for Arizona.
1,000%. I am lockstep with you on that. Some last news and notes on the USA basketball tip of things. Cameron Holmes, next year's incoming class, is a player that Arizona is targeting pretty heavily out here in Goodyear. He not last year, but the 2017, the under 17 team last year that won the gold medal with Koa Peat headlining that team. Cameron Holmes was supposed to be a teammate of Koa Peat's on that team. He had made the roster, injured his ankle playing up against Elijah Williams, who notably is on the Team USA under 19 roster this time around. And yeah, Cameron Holmes was out there the past couple days. He is one of the people that did get cut. Taj Ariza, another one of the players that made a good account for himself out there, but did get cut. These are two high school players. You're fighting an uphill battle to try to make the under 19 team as a high school player.
Riley, who's a college basketball player for a year.
Exactly. And I think like it just more so goes to show that Cameron Holmes, let's keep an eye on him going into next year. Obviously, I'm not breaking news to anybody right now, but I'm saying like this is a guy who is a extremely high-level basketball player and is considered by Tommy Lloyd, by Grant McCaslin, by a lot of the people in positions to make roster choices for Team USA basketball to be one of the best players that the U.S. has to offer for his age group. Not even for his age group, for the age group above him as well. So very interested in that story that's developing there as well. And then I feel like this is important to mention as well, that the Americans drew Group D at this year's FIBA World Cup. That includes Australia, France, and Cameroon. I feel like that's kind of a tough draw. Australia and France probably have decent teams. France definitely. Australia probably. It's the first time that the U.S. and Cameroon will play each other, though. That's the first. And then the U.S. has a 6-1 advantage in their all-time series over the French, and then a 4-2 all-time advantage over Australia in U19 action. And when I was doing research for this topic, Damon, I was like, oh, the U.S. probably runs this. Just like the Olympics, right? It's kind of the case. Excuse me. But it's not really the case. The inaugural event for this FIBA World Cup under 19 was held in 1979. And until 2007, it was held every 4 years. And now after that, it's held every 2 years. So biannually. So not this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. The U.S. won the gold medal 8 times, but most recently in 2021.
What happened?
I was like, oh, so like what happened in 2023? Was it canceled? What happened with that? Well, Damon, the U.S. placed 4th in 2023.
How did that happen? That's not very good for USA basketball.
Well, they did make it to a semifinal, so you're like, okay, that's not the worst. And they lost to France, who had Zachary Richache on that roster, Alexander Dame-Sarr on that roster, 2 NBA players on that roster at least. So
lots of talent, yeah.
Extremely highly talented team. No real shame in losing to France, even though you're supposed to dominate these kind of games.
Well, I mean, it's embarrassing whenever the U.S. doesn't win it all, but also, especially when they don't make the championship game. Like the bronze medal team in 2004, like that was like, there's a reason 2008 they were like, cool. Kobe, Dwayne Wade, LeBron, Chris Bosh, Dwight Howard, they brought in all the boys. So it's like
the Redeem team.
Yeah. So
I think that this could be
embarrassing. So what happened? Wait, so what?
Yeah.
Why did we finish 4th?
Well, it's funny you say that because I'll get to how they finished fourth in a second. But after this, I think it's interesting to compare the Redeem team to this upcoming Koa Peat led 2019 or to under 19 2025 team because there are some similarities. Because in 2023, the coach was Tad Boyle, who fine head coach.
Oh,
fine head coach, but
because Tad Boyle was the coach, the most mid coach in the country. That's why Arizona got fourth place. Because for some reason, we're picking Colorado's basketball coach to coach our youngest and brightest talent.
Well, hey. Assistant coaches were Leon Rice of Boise and Michael Boynton and a current assistant at Michigan.
And then this coaching staff is Tommy Lloyd, Nate Oates, Hubert Davis,
Grant McCaslin,
Mark Pope, Grant McCaslin,
Micah Shrewsbury.
It's literally all the best coaches in college basketball.
Yeah, and I think, when you look at the roster, I think that's also a big reason of why the U.S. finished fourth in this one. Oh, I should mention they lost the semifinal to France and then lost the third place game to Turkey.
That's Cody Williams in Tad Boyle ball, baby.
Yeah, and the roster was Kylan Boswell, remember that guy, Cody Williams, Tobe Awaka was on that roster.
Shocking.
Dylan Harper.
We did not know that.
Asa Newell, Eric Daly Jr. of UCLA, Van Allen Lubin, Omaha Billieu, who now plays at Wake Forest, for those that don't follow the Demon Deacons. Losers. Miles Colvin, Ian Jackson, Mark Armstrong, Trey Johnson, and Ricard Johnson. The roster just isn't as good.
Different levels of teams that we're talking about.
And I know we have the benefit of hindsight with this roster, right? Maybe if we go back in the Wayback Machine and we look at the players that were on this USA roster, maybe we're convincing ourselves of, dude, Eric Daly Jr., he's going to be him, or, wait till you see Omaha Billieu in transition.
Williams is insane.
Yeah. So maybe this is a bit of hindsight bias, but I truly believe when you look at the players on the 2023 Under-19 Team USA team, you look at the coaching staff on that team, you look at and you compare it to 2025, it's just, there is no comparison. The coaching staff has leveled up to here. It seems like the player pool has leveled up to here. And it feels like, I'm not trying to get declarative, but this feels like something that's easy to say. The U.S. has to win this one.
Totally.
This no excuses for
Redeem
Tommy Lloyd,
team, baby.
The Redeem team is here.
We should start calling him that and pretend like we came up with it. Come up with this new thing. I'm thinking this is the Redeem team that we got here.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I do, because I do think there are some genuine similarities between the two contexts, right? Like you have
there's just a lot more talent on this roster. It's a lot different than when Kylan Boswell is leading the line versus is Brandon McCoy even going to make the damn team? Brandon McCoy is levels on Kylan
AJ
Boswell.
DeVance is a pro today.
Yeah. Koa Peat, pro today. I think Tyron Stokes. We haven't even mentioned the number one player in the upcoming recruiting class of 2026 is on this team. You know what I mean? So and I feel like Tyron Stokes probably is the number one guy, at least for that's not true. Asa Newell, Dylan Harper were always on that team, but Tyron Stokes, 2026 number one player in the class. He's a beast. Just some news and notes for Team USA basketball. Follow Koa Peat. Yep. Go follow Saul Bookman too. He's out there in Colorado Springs, boots on the ground. Like we said, we're going to get him on later this week. Talk to him about what he's seeing out there at practice. But that's pretty much going to do it for us today. Real quick before we get out of here, we did get a couple football recruits. We'll probably dive deeper into them a little bit more tomorrow. But just in the sake of getting you guys updated, RJ Mosley commitment, wide receiver from Pittsburgh, California, which is kind of a pipeline school for college football. Really, really tons of talent. Kind of a mid three-star. And by mid 3-star, I don't mean that he's like mid. I mean that it's kind of a middle of the pack 3-star. 6'4", 14 offers. One from Georgia. Don't know how committable that offer was though. Stanford, SMU, Cal, Utah, and more were kind of the teams that were involved in this recruitment. But one of the better prospects in Arizona's class, since his inception into it. And then today, Arizona gets another commit from Griffin Tillis. That makes that 4 commits this month. That's 9 commits, I believe, in this class overall. Not towards the top of the Big 12, but also not at the bottom. So I guess you can hang your hat on that. I think that, ASU and Kansas are at the top. They have 17 commits apiece. A lot of that is numbers. Like you need to up your numbers to be able to be in that upper echelon. hopefully Arizona continues this momentum, starts getting a little bit more recruits in this upcoming class locked in. But like I said, we'll get into those recruits a little bit more tomorrow and kind of deep dive on that. But that's going to do it for us today. Tomorrow, we do have a mystery guest. Make sure you guys are there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Kevin and I do not know what to expect. So
I hate surprises, chat.
It could be fireworks.
I really do.
Could be electric. Could make us look like big dumb idiots in the interview. Tune in. You're going to want to find out and have fun with that one. We appreciate everybody for being here. Kevin, thank you, sir, for finding your way back here. It's good to have you back, my guy. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday edition of the AZ Wildcats podcast. Until then, I'm at Damon Dog. It's DAWG. He is at Kevo Post. That's KEVOPOSTS. We are at PHNX_Wildcats on Twitter. Give us a follow. Subscribe to this channel, road to 50K. We are inching along, and like this video. Drop a comment, please, after this video goes, no longer live. That helps us out as well. It drops it into the algorithm for more people. And like I said, those likes matter so much. So please do so. It takes 3 seconds. You just tap that like button. Helps us out, like I said. 13 likes, a little light. Let's get that up. Let's boost these numbers up. We had more people watching the show than that. We should have a like for every single person that is watching this show should be liking this video. It is that simple. Appreciate everybody. We'll be back on a Tuesday edition of the AZ Wildcats podcast. Until then, peace out, bear down.
And go Cats. It's good to be back.
We all silly like the mayor.